This is the Washington Week Webcast Extra.
Hello and welcome. We had so much to talk about on the regular broadcast that we had to stick around a bit longer. Joining me, Michael Crowley of Politico, Ed O'Keefe of the Washington Post, and Alexis Simendinger of Real Clear Politics. Just when reporters thought maybe we were getting a little beside the point with this White House, they decided to rub it in, inviting three YouTube stars, generally known for the number of hits they generate more than for their news savvy, to the White House to interview the president.
This is the Washington Week Webcast Extra.
Hello and welcome. We had so much to talk about on the regular broadcast that we just had to stick around a little longer. Joining me, Michael Crowley of Politico, Ed O'Keefe of the Washington Post, and Alexis Simendinger of Real Clear Politics. Just when reporters thought we were maybe getting to be a little beside the point with this White House, they decided to rub it in, inviting three YouTube stars, generally known for the number of hits they generate more than for their news savvy, to the White House to interview the president. Then they managed to ask about Cuba and abortion and actual real things. What was behind this new digital approach, Alexis?
Well, one of the things that the president and his team were concerned about is that a normal, everyday, routine State of the Union address, the numbers of viewers on television have gone down. He got about 32 million viewers. But they're the new, media White House, and so they wanted to make it State of the Union month as much as possible. And this has included all kinds of events to roll out, all kinds of social media efforts. I mean, using Medium and Vine and Facebook videos, et cetera. And the YouTube celebrities, we called them at the White House, were invited to interview the president 2 days after the speech. And that included a
we're watching them taking a selfie. Go ahead.
Very wonky gentleman named Hank Green, a very established comedian named Glozell with the green lipstick, and then a young woman who's known for shopping. She makes apparently $500,000 by shopping and taking videos of herself shopping. And these three people were brought in by the White House under the auspices of Google. In the past years, the president's been interviewed under the auspices of a Google Hangout, or they organize it. So supposedly these were unscripted questions, although we did hear a Google handler burst out with a reply when Glozell asked the president about the Castro brothers and why the president wanted to normalize relationships with Cuba, because I can't say this on a family television show because
it is a webcast.
It's a webcast, but don't say she just can't.
But that she had a play on words with the word dictator. Let's just put it that way. And the president had a startled look on his face, and the Google woman burst out with that was not in the script behind the scenes. So anyway, Glozell she has 3.3 million followers.
Do we have any evidence to
YouTube.
support the notion, however, that the 3.3 million people who click on Glozell or the shopping lady or the nerd guy, that they care about policy or care about the president or care about any of the stuff?
This is an excellent question, and what I was expecting the president to do was use these three appearances to really hit home on and bring the conversation back to free community college, which he did, but he got asked the question about legalization of pot, or he got asked about, and he tried to do that. But you're asking the point that I tried to raise in a story I wrote, which is engagement. That's the term, engagement with influencers is a different thing than persuasion, right? And so the president is trying to reach this audience, and to what end, right?
We have come a long way since Boxers Are Briefs on the MTV question for Bill Clinton. That was the first time.
Arsenio Hall.
Yeah,
right?
but that was just playing music. Boxers Are Briefs got Bill Clinton in trouble for years.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back up to Capitol Hill, where we I squirmed a little bit watching Ed I mean, you're Ed, watching Harry Reid, the Senate Minority Leader, make his return to Capitol Hill after this awful, awful accident he suffered where we don't know if he's going to lose his eyesight. He's got bones broken around his face, and he just looks horrible.
Yeah, remember, this is a guy who was a boxer who's had a few bones broken before. He was the target of a failed car bombing. I mean, this is a guy who, because he was like a Las Vegas gambling official, so I mean, things.
This is a long time ago.
Long time ago, back in the 80s. So he's had adversities like this before, but this one really was quite a stumble. He was exercising with these so-called exercise bands. He's a man who doesn't walk very confidently anymore, and he lost his balance, and if you see him walking, you could understand that he fell, severely injured his right eye. There's a bone essentially touching his eyeball that is causing doctors some uncertainty about whether or not he's ever going to be able to see again. He has surgery Monday scheduled. His 4 ribs are healing. He has a bruised right jaw. But he was there this week, and he took questions on Thursday, and he insisted that this does nothing to stop him from running for re-election in 2016. Notably, things have been running quite well on the floor of the Senate in his absence. Dick Durbin of Illinois, his number 2, has been dealing with the Republicans, and Chuck Schumer's been running things behind closed doors, which is ironic because he likes to run things outside of doors. And the two of them have been sort of, many might say, they don't want to talk about it this way, but in a sense they're probably auditioning for one day taking this job, and probably relishing it to some extent too.
Well, that's a sure sign that Harry Reid will come back as quickly as he can.
Right.
I want to talk about Ukraine before we go tonight, because as we talked in the regular show about things blowing up every which way, it seems that the deal that everybody thought was being cut, the ceasefire deal, the dividing line deal in Ukraine, is just crumbling before our eyes.
It is, and with all the other problems that are going on, you think about how dire it seemed when Vladimir Putin annexed Crimea, and it became clear that he was supporting kind of a military insurgency in eastern Ukraine. And I mean, this was blaring front page kind of freak out news for several weeks earlier this year. And now a lot of people aren't even aware that it's happening because there's so much turmoil elsewhere. But this low-grade conflict has gone on. Putin has not stepped back, and in fact now we have 5,000 people dead in eastern Ukraine, 1 million people displaced. I mean, a really serious gaping wound that
and
is...
do we still see evidence of Russian convoys, Russian troops on the ground in Donetsk?
No, there's no sign that Putin has withdrawn his support for these rebels. And I think the larger point here that's interesting is, the president took a bit of a victory lap in his State of the Union speech when it came to Russia and Vladimir Putin, and he was kind of doing an "I told you so" with his critics, who said that he wasn't standing up strong enough, and that Putin was the more manly man, and that he'd gotten the best of Obama. And Obama said in his State of the Union, look at the Russian economy, it's in tatters, the ruble has plunged, it's going into recession, and Russia is also diplomatically isolated. I told you so. I handled this right. The sanctions that we applied have really done severe damage. Well, there's a lot of debate about the role that those sanctions played, and frankly, I think most experts would tell you that it's the plunge in oil prices that have really socked it to Putin. But the key point here is it has had basically no effect on Putin's policy toward toward Ukraine. Crimea is still annexed.
Right.
And the rebels in eastern Ukraine, supported by Russia, are still doing their thing, and Putin is not backing down.
Boy, no problems actually go away. They just seem to keep bubbling out there. Thank you all very much. And thank you as well. For more of the Inside Skinny, stay online and read Gwen's take, my report on the real faces of the immigration debate. And we'll see you next time on the Washington Week Webcast Extra.